Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold, and I'm the Magi. Today we're doing it for those MtGO Pauper folks, so you can get on the server first thing Tuesday and pick these cards up before the prices have an opportunity to go up. But before we get into all that, this season, Duskmourn is focused on that horror genre and all of those fears that us 1/1 human tokens tend to share. But you know what I really find horrifying? Only 1/3 of the viewers that regularly watch my content have subscribed to the channel. So come on guys, take a moment, sub to the channel, support the content, and be sure to check your notification settings so you never miss out on a thing. Now, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. Alright, so I think the first thing that should be on everybody's radar is the new 13 Life Matters common lands. And while I feel certain that these are good lands and will find places in Pauper decks, particularly maybe something like a fast Boros aggro style deck, these cards tend to not have very much demand outside of Pauper because they are so very printed. And since a full play set represents 40 individual cards, I would put these on a fairly low priority. I feel confident you'll have time to acquire these later, and they really won't cost you any additional funds. If we're being honest with ourselves, Pauper is not the place where you find the most powerful individual card effects. Those are most often reserved for those higher rarity rares and mythics. So in Pauper we have to look for power level in other ways, and one of those classics is simple card advantage. Any process by which a player obtains effectively more cards than his or her opponent, as so aptly stated by Eric Taylor so many years ago. And Duskmourn provides just that through a variety of ways. The first of which, of course, is creatures that either replace themselves or bring along a friend through either the creation of a second token creature or through the new Manifest Dread mechanic. Commons like Unsettling Twins, Tunnel Surveyor, Bashful Beastie, and the Innocuous Rat all give you that 2-for-1 card advantage on creatures. Duskmourn's core mechanic, the new enchantment type rooms, have a form of built-in card advantage, as each of these functionally represents two different cards, both of which can be played, unlike a lot of prior split cards where you had to make a choice. And one tip I would give about rooms is they are designed so the half on the left side of the card is intended to be played first in order to maximize the combined value, but it won't always have the lower casting cost. Generally speaking, when evaluating these, I would look for one or more of the sides to immediately affect the board state. Otherwise, the card runs the risk of just not being very useful. Both Meat Locker and Glassworks are not only the lower casting cost side, but both immediately affect the board state and give you a late game option when, well, you might not have anything else to do. I believe the common room which best illustrates this built-in card advantage would have to be Grand Entryway, which not only puts an enchantment into play, but also gives you a 1/1 white Glimmer enchantment creature token, and allows you the option to later unlock the Elegant Rotunda as well, potentially giving you a 3-for-1 value. It should come as no surprise that Duskmourn is a set that revolves very heavily around enchantments. In fact, we've seen that a little bit with the rooms. But overall, mostly for Pauper, enchantments are kind of relegated to the Boggle style deck. And I do think there's one card that adds to that. That, of course, is Fanatical Strength, offering not only a flash speed for 3 mana, but also a permanent +2/+2 and trample boost to the targeted creature. The other enchantment that I think is likely to have day one potential is Trapped in the Screen, and obviously this won't be going into any sort of Boggles build, But for 3 mana, you get an O-Ring style effect that can remove your opponent's artifact lands in affinity builds and then tax them with a Ward 2 in order to get it back. A bit of tempo, to say the very least, and best used in order to cut those 3-color affinity decks out of a color. It would be hard to talk about virtually any format and not talk about a red base or mono red archetype. And this set is really no different from that. Clockwork Percussionist, of course, is an artifact creature, so it could go nicely into those affinity builds. It's also a 1/1 for 1 with haste, so a number of red rush style possibilities. Furthermore, when it dies, exile the top card of your library. You may play it until the end of your next turn. So it kind of replaces itself as well, and card advantage is something red is almost always looking for. And speaking of card advantage, Grab the Prize is one of those classic red card draw, rummage style spells, not quite a loot because you have to discard first. It allows you to draw 2 cards. If the discarded card wasn't a land card, it has the added bonus of dealing 2 damage to each opponent. Really adding a good little bit of utility that might be just the sort of incremental edge that a red Pauper deck is looking for. Reanimator strategies in Pauper are really nothing new, although we don't consistently see this deck as highly viable or highly played within the format of late. That having been said, Emerge from Cocoon for 5 mana to return a creature directly to the battlefield with, well, really no downside, and the upside of gaining you a little bit of life, which you might need by turn 5, really should not be overlooked. Generally for Pauper Shopper, I don't spend a lot of time going over every piece of removal or every form of direct damage because, well, they tend to be kind of basic and dime a dozen with a slightly different spin slanted towards an individual set. This time, however, there are 2 pieces that I think are worth looking at because they bring something a little bit unique to the table. First up, I'd like to talk about Winter's Intervention, a 2-mana black instant. And unlike most black removal, this doesn't rely on a destroy or sacrifice effect. It actually deals damage to a target creature, somewhat unique for black, with the added upside of gaining you 2 life in the process. Next up, we've got Monstrous Emergence, which at first pass kind of looks like a bad sorcery speed bite spell for 2 mana. The interesting thing here is the way the card is worded. It's something we've never seen before. As an additional cost to cast this spell, choose a creature you control or reveal a creature card from your hand. That's 2 interesting points that basically eliminate the possibility of your opponent responding and 2-for-1ing fizzling your removal spell. Because once the creature has been named that you control or the card revealed from your hand, there's no way for your opponent to interact with that. So if they remove your creature in play, Monstrous Emergence already knows how much damage it's dealing. And even if somehow they could make you discard that card at instant speed, again, that information is locked in and can't really be messed with. Monstrous Emergence will still resolve and presumably do what you intended to do. So there it is, guys. That's what's on my radar when it comes to Duskmourn and the Pauper format. Hopefully this gives you something to think about and a leg up on acquiring these cards before prices have the opportunity to go up. But hey, I'd like to hear from you guys down in the comments below. What am I wrong about? What did I overlook? What is on your radar? And before we go, while every member of this community is important to me, I just wanted to take a moment and give a shout out to those patrons providing financial support and keeping the Stronghold from being a complete financial black hole. And of course, let me leave you with some suggestions for your next step here on the channel.